Phoebe, you're a fan of pedantry, I think. Um, what's going on over in Texas with some word changes or something? What's happening?
Why don't you just set fire to the dictionary in Texas? I think that's the best thing that they could have done. It's just So Texas and its bigot in chief, who runs round calling himself Greg, but that may be subject to change depending on the wind or something. They have gone and decided that let's not use the word slavery when we're dealing with second graders. We're going to use the phrase involuntary relocation. This really annoys me. I mean, it genuinely annoys the backside off of me because involuntary relocation is what happened in things like the Trail of Tears, when many, many, many tribes were forcibly marched across, large swathes of, continental Southern America. Really great that was. So we're going to conflate the Trail of Tears with the theft and indentured servitude of people against their will. They've really thought this one through. And it just feels like another one of these ridiculous, nonsensical attacks on progress and understanding of points of view that you dislike. In Texas and in Florida and in the wider anti-progress movement, they're using the same kind of language. Oh, we need to protect the children because they're not ready for it yet. We hear that against LGBT people. We need to protect the children from the groomers. We need to protect the children from the nastiness because they're not ready to understand it. Talk about infantilization of people who are younger than you just because you yourself have got this point of view. And I'd like to talk about the Texas Tribune article to start with, because this was one of the weirdest articles I have read in a very long time. Because the article, as far as I can read it, isn't aimed at the general public. It's aimed at somebody like me, a trained lawyer. It's aimed as if it's going to be sitting on the desks of law firms, political action committees, super PACs, and campaign groups. And there's a problem with the article. It's very good for that audience, but it's not written by a lawyer. It's written by a journalist who is bored out of their skull with this because they've been covering it forever and a day and it just won't go away. It feels like someone's taken away the football from the football game and they've said, okay, now write about the football game. Whereas instead we should be having like a good chess boxing match where we're going in and throwing punches and going, this is ridiculous, but still giving that meaty substance for the brain to clamp down on, to go, oh, this is why it's wrong, and these people are completely bonkers. So note to myself, don't buy the Texas Tribune. It says dull as paint drying. But this is where we've got to with Texas. They have come down with their elected, I repeat, with their elected boards of education, taking information from advisory groups that are basically going around and saying we need to have some censorship here, a bit more censorship there, a bit more censorship round there, and we're going to dress it all up like it's coming from a place of concern. They said that about segregation. We need to protect the children from the scary non-white people. And when are we going to break this cycle? And we need to understand what's really going on here. The words matter here. And the words matter an awful lot here. Because if you start going, oh, it's involuntary relocation. No, it was slavery. Those are two different things. And it feels very strange to have anybody in an educational position go, ooh, we need to, dumb down because I don't like it. I don't want children to, think that I could be wrong. And I wonder what you two think about that.
Yeah, I'm going to. This is going to sound really bizarre. I want to be fair to the Texas School Board here because it's easy to jump on the Texas School Board for being gargantuan idiots. They have given us enough examples of it, as we've discussed many, many times on the non-profits. But here there does seem to be a legitimate undercurrent that they weren't only discussing slavery, but transition into the country in general. And that, on its own, would have been fine. The problem was that they decided to include slavery in there, and that specifically that they wanted to redefine slavery into involuntary relocation. And that, for the benefit of any members of the Texas School Board who might be listening, categorically is not fucking okay. The fact that it's rejected is not okay, and that may sound like I'm defending them somehow, but it's not okay only on the basis that it should never, ever, ever have been suggested to begin with. There shouldn't have even been an opportunity to reject it. And there was, and that's why this is not okay. This is not language. This is not a redefinition that belongs in this century. And kudos to this Texas School Board. When it was suggested, it was thrown out immediately. But that here is not the point. The fact that it was suggested to start with is the point. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of good points, both of you, honestly. There is yet again the through line, I feel, where people are out there shouting, talking about all the terrible things that CRT is doing, all the terrible things about being affirmative when it comes to or providing affirmation for students who are part of the LGBTQ community. The people that are against that seem to me like they are so uncomfortable with who they are. And they are so uncomfortable with the ideology that they have to go this fucking far. It is so clearly obvious. Just take just a little bit of look, folks. Just a little bit of look. If anybody out there is watching this or listening to this on podcast and you are at all confused about the slavery in the United States, happened for a really long time, I promise you, it doesn't take very long before you go, wait a second. It's not as if they're just picking people up and moving them to a different city and saying, well, all right, have a good time now, do your thing. No, they are beating people. They are murdering people. They are actively ripping apart families. This was not, you were a commodity. You were not a human being. And the idea that we would even come close to this, I agree, Richard, is so freaking frustrating. My initial off the cuff response probably had more expletives than I should. So what I will do is just point out one of the school board members, which, by the way, the school board did unanimously reject this, and that is good. But again, kind of like what Richard said, never should have been on the fucking table. But one of the school board members, their comment was, I don't know if that's a fair representation of what we should be saying about that journey. And like, oh my, yeah, fuck yeah, right? I also thought what you were talking about, Phoebe, when it came to this, once again trying to couch this bigoted and hateful ideology with this shiny pretty, oh, we just want to protect the children. Fucking quit it. Children are not some subgroup, subcategory to just be played with and done with what we fucking want as adults. That's bullshit. Start treating kids like they are going to be the future leaders of this country and the world, because that's what they are, folks. Like, I get it. We shouldn't sit down with a 5-year-old and explain the absolute gory, horrific details. But for fuck's sake, like, stop pretending as if children are not able to look around them and see things. They see bigotry, they see hatred, they see adults that are going out of their way to try to marginalize other groups of people. They are seeing this, and that is giving them the thought that, hey, maybe this is the right way to act. And it just freaking isn't. If we do not teach the next generation, how in the fuck are we going to be spared from the horrible consequences that we have already received, you know? Truly, it again, I was glad that they rejected it, at least. I mean, I'm trying to find something positive here. That was good that they did not take this on, right?
But one of the board members, Pat Hardy, said, as a result of the SBOE voted unanimously to send the language back to be reworked, this board is committed to the truth, which includes accurate descriptions of historical events. And I've just, that fucking, the amount of times we've come across the Texas school board, and I've got to take that with a pinch of salt. This is a school board.
I'm gonna
seriously,
call bullshit.
Seriously, it went to court, considered teaching creationism as a theory alongside evolution. You know, I've got to applaud them for rejecting this ridiculous and racist suggestion unanimously. I would do, however, think that they should be very seriously consider whether whoever it was who made the suggestion, and I don't think the article actually tells us that, but whoever made that section to begin with, are they suitable for their position, or should they remain on the board? Because in my view, that person should be out the door and bye-bye and don't come back again.
It was an advisory committee that advises the school board. So it was an outside, you know, entity that feeds into the school board. But just put it this way, it could be
worse. The Ku
Klux
Klan.
It could be worse. It could be worse. We could be going back to the days that Kansas put evolution on trial.
Yeah.
We could be going back to those days where they actually held in court hearings about evolution, and they took evidence and stuff, and it was like they had a jury and a judge and everything. It was fairly absurd. No, not fairly absurd. It was fucking round the bend. It was ludicrous. And this is another one of those ludicrous, nonsensical, round the arsehole, absolute dog shite things that is coming once again out of the Lone Star State, being fed down from the very top of the organizational structure that is the Texas State House, the Texas Legislature, the Texas courts, and the electorate of Texas don't have anything really that they can get their teeth into at the moment. It feels like we are looking at a state that has decided to turn itself inside out and is now looking out of its own sphincter rings because it has lost all perspective and has lost the complete sight of what reality is. Reality is slavery was the ownership of people as property. It wasn't, oh, I'm just going to help you move house and we're just not going to give you the house. It wasn't that. It was, hello, I'm going to take you from Africa, put you on a ship, going to see a load of people die, just chuck them overboard, and then we're going to make you work to death. I, as a Jewish woman, would have a lot more ancestors if slavery hadn't happened in Europe in the 1940s. So this is one of the most ridiculous and offensive things to ever come out of the backside of vomit that is Texas at the moment.
And my state, being Tennessee, we look to Texas's school board. When things are going down in the Texas school board, and it's not just my state. There are lots and lots and lots of states that wait for Texas's school board to adopt a ruling, add a policy change some fucking words around. They wait for that, and then they say, yes, that's what we'll do. We'll fall in line with that. And, you know, even if that wasn't the case, this is still so fucking ridiculous to me that, again, for the sake of our wonderful crew here at the ACA, I will keep my initial thoughts when I heard this. Hadn't even read the damn article, and just I probably had about 12, maybe 13 cuss words in, and not many prepositions or anything else. But Richard, any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just want to finish up to say that, and I'm going to crucify her name, and I do apologize to her, but Iro Amare, or Amir, a Democratic candidate for Congress of Texas's 4th district, called this proposal disgraceful. And she hit the nail on the head when she said, we have come to the point now that we must hold the Texas Education Agency and the State Board of Education accountable for the deliberate miseducation of Texas children. And that is brilliant. And I'd just like to point out that we have been saying this on the nonprofits for months and months and months and months. And it's nice to see that we're having some influence and that the politicians are finally catching up. You know, these are supposed to be the leaders, not the followers. And to see that at least some of them are following our lead is a good thing.
Yeah. Phoebe, what are your thoughts?
Texas. Where do I start?
Yeah. We I don't know if we have that much time for all of it. But
All I will say on this proposal, gas prices may have hit $5 a gallon, but I'll happily pay $5 for 1 gallon to set fire to this proposal so that it never sees the light of day ever again. This is the epitome of Texas shite and should never, ever, ever rear its ugly head again.
Yeah.
Now go away, Texas Board of Education and the Texas Education Authority, and reflect. Why are you so rammed up your own backside that you cannot see the idiocy of the optics of this?
They haven't watched enough nonprofits episodes, I think, is the problem, y'all. I think that's part of it.
I think that is it, yeah, pretty much.